Hey everybody, and welcome to the Holiday Wishes YouTube Hop. If you are watching this on Halloween, check the description below for some awesome giveaway info. I am going to create a scene today using these absolutely beautiful deer dies. They are so perfect, so spot on for a Texas white-tailed deer that I was so excited to get these. And I wanted to show you how easy they are to put together. So I'm going to put together the buck really quickly. The doe I already put together, and I had individually ink blended all of the little pieces, and we're going to do some more ink blending today. But for the buck, I'm going to make a Patronus. This is going to be a Harry Potter deer. And I wanted to show you just how easy it is. So the head comes in 3 pieces that all line up with each other perfectly. Then there's a second little piece that matches that little ruff underneath his chin that you just layer that up. And that's what that looks like. There are also all these debossed details like on all the lovely layers dies that's so pretty and so realistic. When I'm using small die cut pieces, if they're not like the larger pieces like the head, I like to put the glue down with my precision glue press right onto the larger piece and then fit the smaller piece on top of it. So I just put 2 little dots for the white areas around the deer's eyes. These cut out these pieces for both the male and the female. Sorry, my autofocus wasn't working this day. I don't know why. And then there are little tiny pieces that make up the black part of the eye. I had just colored these with an alcohol marker. You can cut them out of black cardstock if you'd like, but I will tell you when you cut these out, it's really obvious which ones are for the doe and which ones are for the buck. But if you need a layering guide, there is a layering guide for these dies. I didn't even have to look at it, which is unusual for me. I usually do. But this was like Legos. It was very easy to put together. So the next pieces are little pieces for the inside of the ear. If you look over at the doe, you can see she has some too. And what I did when I was ink blending that is some of these smaller pieces, I made the lighter blue ink so they would stand out, not just be 3D, which these little pieces are, but also be lighter in color. You can see her little light belly over there. He has a little strip on his belly as well. This is so accurate. This is exactly how white-tailed deer look. And now I'm going to add his hooves. Again, I colored these with alcohol markers, and I have a couple I'll color for you here in just a second. But there are actually 4 pieces. You can see his 3 hooves the most prominently, but that hoof on his leg that's a little bit behind, there's also a small hoof piece that goes on there. It's like a little triangular piece, so don't miss that when you're die cutting. So I just color these with a brush marker and pop them on there. These are some of the smaller pieces in the die set, so don't forget the little hooves. And of course, if you just wanted to color that part, you could do that too if you wanted it all one layer. I like these layering details. I think it's just beautiful how much detail is in these dies. And you just pick them up and pop them on there. It's really quick. So you can see that little piece of his hoof that I was talking about there. So I will grab that. I have them all on a sticky mat off camera. I really recommend using a sticky mat or a grip mat when you are working with small die cuts like this. It makes a huge difference. You can put all the pieces on the sticky mat and you're not going to lose them on your desk. A cat isn't going to knock them off. They're all going to be there for you when you are ready. So there is a little nose piece as well that I will add to him. And then he is finished. There's my Patronus deer. He's so beautiful. So now I'm going to build a scene for the little doe. And I wanted this to go with the all is calm, all is bright sentiment. And I'm going to have her sitting on a little strip of land. And behind her, there's going to be a horizon line with a reflected moon in a body of water. So I'm sort of sketching out kind of where I want that to be with a pencil line just to orient myself. And now I have 2 circle masks that I cut out of masking paper, and then I stacked them perfectly together and cut off one side of them in my paper cutter. that makes sure that they will exactly line up. And that is important, and you will see why in a little bit. So here I'm just checking my horizon line against my grid mat, just making sure that's a straight line and it's not some apocalyptic slanting horizon. And then I will line up the top moon part on the top part of my card. You don't need to worry about the bottom one until a little bit later. So the horizon line above it is going to be sky, and then below it is going to be water and land. So for the sky, I've chosen Stormy Sky and Blueprint Sketch ink. And the reason that you want 2 inks for this kind of scene is I want there to be a little glow around the moon. And for that to happen, I either have to really be conservative with my ink and make sure that everything's a lot lighter around the moon, or I can just be lazy and use a different ink color, which is what I did. But I also think that 2 ink blends, 3 ink blends are so much more interesting just in terms of color than a single color of ink with varying tonal values is. So I recommend that you think about using 2 actually different ink colors, because that little bit of gray in Stormy Sky is just such a nice contrast with the Blueprint Sketch. So now I need to remask my horizon line, but Distress ink is a really wet ink, and this is a very low tack tape, and so you may find that you can't reuse that tape, and that's what I found out this time. So just get a new piece of tape, and then very carefully mask that top horizon line, and then I just check to make sure the edges of the straight cut are perfectly lined up between the bottom moon and the top moon, and then replace my horizon line, so that I can ink blend the water and the little scene for my little deer. Now, I'm going to fingerprint everything if I don't stop and clean this, so definitely take a minute to do that. Like I said, Distress ink is easily transferred in a huge fingerprint in the middle of your moon, and you don't want to do that. Don't be like me. Do what I say, not what I do. So now I'm going to add the Stormy Sky to the bottom, and you might be wondering about the land. Do not worry about the fact that there is blue behind what is going to be my little strip of land. You will see how this all becomes just seamless and perfect, and the blue underneath there doesn't matter at all. It's really going to be beautiful. So just ink blend the whole thing. That way there's no white spots or light spots or anything that you have to worry about there. So now I'm pulling off the bottom mast moon, but I'm going to add some Stormy Sky to it. Since this is the one that's reflected in the water, it shouldn't be totally white. So I'm adding just a little bit of blue to that. And when I pull off the top one, you'll see how much it looks like a reflection in water. And then there's my little blue deer. She's so cute. So I'm cleaning again, the fingerprinted moon. Not cool. Don't want to do it. So just take a sec and reset. Now we're going to work on that little strip of land. You can make this wherever you want. Just kind of position your deer so that it's where you want it. Maybe where you drew that little pencil line. I can still see my pencil line. And I'm going to start with a light brown, and you're going to kind of see how this develops in just seconds into looking very realistic. So I'm using the light brown ink just to get a little strip of land, and I'm keeping it pretty softly blended at the top, and you'll see why in just a second. And you can also see that blue doesn't matter at all. And now it looks like there's a little lakeside area for my little doe to stand in. And here's the magic part. Taking a smaller brush, and I'm adding some green at the top. And I'm keeping this very light. I'm getting the ink off on my mat and sort of transparent to the blue. And that really looks like grass. Then when I go in and darken the corner with an even darker brown, that sort of transparent green looks even more like grass, and that the land is fading into a darker kind of patch of earth right there in the corner. And it's such an easy way to make it look like you've worked on grass on the edge of a lake or whatever. I do this all the time. I've done this for decades. Back when we had sponges, I was doing it with sponges. And it's just such a realistic grass look at the edge of water. So I'm adding a little bit more Stormy Sky kind of to the edges of that moon. You could also do little stripes across if you wanted it to look more like water, but I wanted to keep this pretty simple. And there you can see the grass effect a little closer up. It's incredible how realistic that is. So now when I put my deer on there, I noticed that I need a little bit of shading on her just to make her stand out from the background a little bit. So I have a darker blue. Then I'll just add some shadows to her legs and see how she just pops a little bit more against that water. And I'll go around, I'll make like her back leg a little bit darker. I'll mask off that belly because that is one of my favorite features of this die because it's really how white-tailed deer look with their little white bellies. So I'll make that back leg a little bit darker and maybe even up around the top of like her hiney, just so that she stands out a little bit from the background. So just keep placing it on that scene and see what you need to add. I added a little bit to her front legs as well. But look at what a peaceful and fun scene that is. I just think it's so sweet, little deer in the moonlight. It's incredibly realistic. I think it makes the perfect holiday card, personally. So be sure and check out the description below for the giveaway information if you're watching this on Halloween. And head over to my blog for more information. And thanks so much for watching.